Compare and contrast Canada, where our government just tried to stick lab-grown meat in all of our grocery stores without even doing Canadian citizens the favor of labeling them, without even labeling products that are lab-grown meats. I don't know about you, but there's a hell of a lot of Canadians that do not feel like eating lab-grown meat. They want to eat real meat. The science behind it is sketchy. The same people who were telling you how safe and effective everything was during the pandemic is now telling you that lab-grown meats are as good as any other meat, and they don't even think they have to put it on the labeling. The government of Canada wants the Canadian citizen to not be able to tell the difference between real versus lab-grown meat. It's clearly a ploy to eventually get us to fully fake meat. That's ultimately what these net zero green initiatives are all about, because of cow farts, because according to Bill Gates, cow farts account for 6% of all CO2 emissions. It's a total scam. This whole climate grift that Mark Carney is in on is a complete scam. But to exemplify what a massive difference a good versus a bad government is, Giorgia Meloni in Italy, at the same time as the Canadian government is attempting to stick lab-grown meat into Canadian grocery stores without even notifying Canadians of that fact, Meloni just banned it. She banned all lab-grown meat, citing that there's a lot of question marks around the alleged science behind the health, which I'm not surprised by at all. I for one, no, I do not want to be eating any meat that was grown in a lab. I'll take my real meat 7 days of the week, and I would not be shocked at all to find research that there are negatives to this lab-grown meat. But just the lack of respect, the government of Canada, because they received so much backlash, actually have revised and for now are not putting lab-grown meat in the grocery store. I was glad. I was getting tired of having to ask whether or not the meat was lab-grown when entering the grocery store. But they rescinded it for now. But just another example of the kind of woke tyranny that we as Canadians are living under, where these net zero zealots think that they have the right to make Canadians lives hard, to cap our CO2 emissions. They realistically think that you should not be allowed to eat real meat because it's a danger to the planet. This is not a joke. They think that by stopping you from eating your real steak, that in some way is saving the planet. It's total idiocy, and it's a scam. Whenever there's a worldwide issue like saving the planet, you just know it's a scam. And I want to appreciate Meloni for calling it out and actually banning altogether lab-grown meat in Italy. It's incredible the difference you now see in these countries where they have elected somebody more conservative, whether it be Meloni, whether it be Trump, whether it be Orban. Like, you look in Japan right now, it's a totally different world. It's incredible to hear so many liberal politicians talk about how you need to keep bringing immigrants in for GDP growth. Well, Japan hasn't had any GDP growth. Japan has focused on building up their own population. And I'll take major Japanese cities over any major Canadian city. There's no crack smoking. There's no hard drug use all over the place. I can guarantee you that. Their cities are clean. Meanwhile, Canadian cities have been neglected, but while they divert funds to things like gender studies and green initiative studies. It's the idea that net zero is a way to fundamentally make Mark Carney and his buddies at Brookfield Asset Management as rich as they possibly can be. Davos, the WF, give them more and more control. They control, once they install their digital ID, central digital banking currencies, they can cut off your credit if you say the wrong thing. They can stop you from purchasing meat, stop you from putting gas in your car if you go past your alignment. It's all, this woke stuff is all tyranny in a rainbow flag. That's exactly what it is. what we're seeing attempted to be implemented in Canada is absolutely tyranny draped in a rainbow flag. And Canadians need to wake up. If a government, it's shocking enough just to think about the fact that the government of Canada would attempt to install lab-grown meat and not even, okay, if you want to do that, I think that the vast majority of Canadians can agree, even if we disagree with that, with putting lab-grown meats into stores, I don't think anybody would disagree that it is absolute madness to say not only are you going to put them into stores, but you are also not even going to label them. You don't even have the respect for the Canadian people to say, okay, we're sticking lab-grown meat in our stores, but we're going to let you know about it so you can make a conscious decision whether you want to be eating real meat or lab-grown meat. No, what Mark Carney and the tyrants say is they don't want the peasants eating any meat whatsoever. So if you're one of those gross plebs that's still out there eating meat, they don't want you to be able to know whether you're eating, there's no other explanation. They don't want you to know whether you are eating meat that was grown in the lab versus real meat, because ultimately the message is, the fundamental message that they're trying to send is you should not be eating meat. And it's such a joke. There's so much research for all of humanity. We've been eating meat. It's the best, it's the absolute best fuel that there is for humanity. So high in protein. Humans for thousands of years have been eating it. And the idea that Mark Carney and these woke tyrants are suddenly showing up and telling us, no, you can't eat that meat. You can only eat lab-grown meat. Otherwise, the planet is on the line. Depending on the type of meat that you eat, they're trying to turn you into bug men. That's fundamentally what the idea is. And it's just another perfect example, but it's a great example. I can guarantee you if Poilievre was our prime minister in Canada, they would not be implementing this lab-grown meat garbage. I can guarantee you. There's not a shot in hell. He'd be more in line with Maloney banning this stuff, and if it ever were to get in, certainly labeling it. But these people, Mark Carney, his ilk, they want to control. It fundamentally comes down to control and them feeling as though they should be able to mandate their worldview to every single Canadian. And it's a very strange worldview. I'll leave it at that. Look into Mark Carney's history, who he's worked in service of his children. He's a very strange fellow, and you can just tell that. Also extremely arrogant, an extremely arrogant guy. So yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to Giorgia Meloni. Nicely done. Congratulations to the Italians. You're not going to have to worry about eating any lab-grown meat. At least, well, it's the same for us Canadians, at least for now. Please like, share, subscribe, join, become a member, donate, grab some gear. Really appreciate everybody's support.